It's Sunday. Let's get right into it. First tweet by Brian Norgaard. Define your narrative or someone else will do it for you. Now, this tweet takes me back about 8 to 10 years ago when I was standing in front of Umber, who owned a restaurant called Whistling Duck in Chandigarh, India, one of my most favorite restaurants. Umber came from Landor, which is a brand strategy and design firm. He took an early retirement to spend more time with his family and start the restaurant. I think he knows this, but I always looked at him as my mentor. He taught me more about brand strategy and branding than any video, book, or course I took. We would stand at the back of the restaurant where he had a shipping container and talk about brand strategy and life. On one particular occasion, he told me that, well, brand is perception. How you perceive a brand is a very meticulously thought out strategy. Seems so obvious and straightforward and common sense, but at the time when he told me, it flipped and fundamentally changed the way I did my work, moving on from that day. Coming back 10 years, I've read this book called Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, where he talks about the role of perception in a human's life. That when scientists closely examined a nucleus under very powerful microscopes, they thought, their assumption was that there's going to be something inside, something solid inside a nucleus. But when they looked, they saw nothing inside. It was just a ball of energy. So our body is made up of energy, mind blown. So the first distinction he makes between the conscious brain and the subconscious brain is that the conscious brain is a thinking and creative brain, and the subconscious brain is the tape player, is the recording device. And the conscious brain processes up to 40 bits of information, whereas the subconscious brain processes millions. And then the conscious brain is your instinctive brain. For a human, it all starts in the fetus. So when a child is conceived and is in the mother's womb, the mother's environment or the mother's perception of her environment determines how the child will also feel. If the mother's feeling anxious and anxiety and stress, the child is also going to feel anxiety and stress. So he goes on to say that even before the child is born, there's certain conditions that have already been embedded in the subconscious brain of the child. Until the age of 7, the child is in a theta and delta wave state where children are in a dreamlike state. So when a child is playing in the sandbox, for them, the castle is real. So children up to the age of 7 are recording their environment into their subconscious brain. He even adds that, show me a child to the age of 7 and I can tell you their future. It's funny how perception literally controls and dictates your life, especially what you absorbed and learned and recorded till the age of 7. So if you grew up in a family where you were told you're not worthy, you don't deserve it, and were poor, it's going to become a part of your subconscious. So even when you grow up and you have thoughts of abundance, it conflicts with these recordings. He further adds that knowing doesn't change behavior. So when you watch a TED Talk or you read a book or you learn something, that's your conscious and creative brain. But to change the behavior, you have to change the tape recordings, which is in your subconscious brain. So your beliefs are perceptions recorded in your subconscious brain. That's why they say it's so hard to change behavior, because changing behavior means changing the recordings in your subconscious brain. So when people come back from like a Tony Robbins expo, or they come back from like this conference, they're so excited and jazzed up, but then it just fades out and peters out because all that excitement, that motivation did not translate into a behavioral change. Organizations struggle with this quite a bit, where they will try to upskill their people, but without follow-up, without action, you cannot change the recordings in your subconscious brain. And we know that the conscious brain is only 1%. Bruce Lipton adds that as an adult, when you are waking up or about to fall asleep, that transitional period is where your body goes from an alpha state, which is in the day as an adult, to alpha, beta, delta, and theta state. So when you're in that transition period of waking up or going to sleep, which is your window to reprogram your subconscious brain. Typically, how do people change their behaviors? If they go through a life-changing event where they were in an accident or somebody that they knew died, something extreme, that will force them to re-record what's in the subconscious brain. Or you could meditate, practice mindfulness, hypnosis. You can get into the delta and theta state which allows for new information to be recorded into the subconscious brain. It's so insane how powerful perception is. It's not only part of humanity, but everything that we do. If you want to learn more about perception, I highly recommend reading Bruce Lipton's book, Biology of Belief, that will build the foundational knowledge from a human perspective, from a biology, from a scientific truth perspective of how powerful perception is in your life. So just like successful brand like Nike, Apple, Harley Davidson, and so on, control the narrative and perception in your mind of how they're perceived. Same way, your perception of your environment through the millions of cells on your body dictate how you feel, how you value yourself, how you live your life, how you lead, and the choices that you make. This stuff is absolutely mind-bending, fascinating. Okay, let's end the episode here. I will see you tomorrow.